This is a drug dealer case. Half a gram of crack cocaine, another bag of half a gram of cocaine. This is ridiculous. You're providing a place for a 15-year-old kid to come and deal drugs. Oh my God. I don't know if anybody out there in the courtroom has read this PSI. Who was dealing drugs from the home?
A 15-year-old minor and myself.
You are a disease spreader. The same thing as if you had COVID. Ridiculous. Get out of here.
In Wexford County, Michigan, Tena Unique Ericson appeared before Judge Jason Elmore for sentencing on multiple felony counts tied to drugs. The defense had a case for leniency, and the prosecution had a history that suggested otherwise. But Judge Elmore had something neither side was prepared for. He had actually read the pre-sentence investigation, every page of it, and by the time he was done reading it out loud in that courtroom, it was clear that what was on those pages had not just informed his decision, it had made him furious.
People of the state of Michigan versus Tena Unique Ericson. All right, so it's file number 26-14217FH. Allocution, Mr. Harrison.
There are a couple of things that jump out here, and I'm noticing as well, as you can see, Miss Erickson's demeanor here today, and my conversations with her lately have been centered around this issue. She's scared. She's scared that this will be a situation that she could have had a lot worse outcome and could have had a lot worse situation moving into the future. So I used the word scared, and maybe that has some negative connotations, but I meant it in a positive way, because sometimes the thing that you worry about with someone who lives with addiction, as Ms. Erickson does, is what's it going to take? What's it going to take to get them to stop and think and make some lifestyle determinations that don't simply allow her to fall back on her old ways of doing things? I'm pretty impressed with her demeanor and her outlook. She's done a couple of things. She's made tons of inquiries with regard to getting into some kind of treatment that, the way she describes it, would be irrespective of whether the court or probation or anybody thinks it's a good idea. It's something she wants to do for herself, because she's taken that step to say, I need to make a change and I need to do it now, because while I'm a young person now, I won't be in a couple of years. And I'll really regret it if I don't take this opportunity to make that change. She's also gotten in touch with, maybe for the first time, the Native American community, that while she knew she had Native American heritage, she did not have contact with that part of her lineage, and she's found that to be a positive opportunity as well. As the court is well aware, that particular community has devoted significant resources to things like interaction and rehab and counseling, and overall it's just a positive thing that she thinks can lead to more positivity in her situation. Her prior situation was born out of negativity and necessity. I think it's a pattern we see all too often. We see a young girl get kind of drawn into that lifestyle and develop an issue, a problem, an addiction, and it leads to one of two things. You're either dead or in prison. Hopefully, we can get her on the track that she started for herself, keep her on it so that she has a more positive outcome than, unfortunately, a lot of the cases that we see. I can't say enough about the change that I've seen in her outlook, her demeanor, her state of mind. I hate to use the word in this context, but I will. Her attitude, Your Honor, has done a 360 as far as she was still wallowing in a bunch of negativity and sad, woe is me, when she first got arrested and was put in jail. She's really turned that around through the counseling services available in the jail, through other contacts that she's made. And she now knows that there's a path for her. And she has done a lot of the legwork herself, and I want to see that continue. So while the recommendation seems a little bit unclear, I want to be clear that what I think an appropriate sentence here would be to the 84 days jail she's already served, and then a period of probation. Now, I know I have sort of a standard spiel about how probation is really an opportunity for her to demonstrate, but this case is one in which it is all too clear and all too apparent. Probation will be a positive force in her life, not only for the oversight. It's easy to stay clean when someone's looking over your shoulder, but it will help her develop those skills along with counseling and rehab, whatever else she ends up doing, that I think were just not present in the past several years anyway.
What hadn't she just gotten off of probation
Yeah,
5 months before on
Yeah.
another file, and she'd gotten caught her first time when she was 17, got
Yeah.
7411, completed that, went right back to alcohol shortly thereafter.
yep.
Why did she not get a hold of her heritage roots after that?
I don't know. And it's a good, I suppose it's a good question because it is probative of what her state of mind was at that point in time. How, I can't speak to that, Your Honor. Maybe if she chooses to address it, maybe she can. What I can tell you is this: I know through ample conversation with her that she has got a different outlook now. And maybe this is one of those situations where it's like on a cartoon where a character gets bonked in the head and loses his memory, then it gets bonked on the head and it comes back. That's not how the real world works. But I think it's a telling analogy for what likely occurred in Ms. Erickson's outlook here. Can't say enough positive things about her, Your Honor, especially because it would have been simple for her to say, you know what? I'm stuck in this cycle. I'm stuck in this lifestyle. I have a low guideline on this case. I can easily serve whatever jail or whatever probation and get right back to doing what I want to be doing, which is engaging in a drug-riddled lifestyle. That's not what she did here. And I think that speaks volumes to her positive outlook for the future. Obviously, I would like the court to recognize that despite all of her past, despite of the criminal history, in spite of the criminal history that the court has just recited, she's still only 0 to 17. So what that tells me, guideline-wise, is that there is hope for her. And she was not able to take advantage of that hope in the past. She is now, and I want her to have that opportunity. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Dahl?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Erickson is now convicted of 4 felonies. So I imagine if she were to pick up a similar offense in the future, looking at prison, not a chance of probation. In this case, in her past, she has been given 7411 to try to clean up her record and change her ways. She was also given a chance at drug court, and she is not taking that serious. She now has 3 felonies in this case, 3 felony convictions, and in the circumstances that led up to those convictions are that she let her addiction take control of her life, and that put her in a place where she was allowing drug dealers to deal out of her home. And there was lots of substances found in this house, and it's a pretty scary situation for the community. I hope that she takes this sentence seriously. She changes her life, because I believe this may be her last chance to avoid prison and or death. In this case, I would ask the court to sentence her to the time she already served, but I would ask the court to set her on probation for 3 years. I believe with her past and her addiction, she needs longer supervision than 2 years. I believe that the possibility of prison and more jail time standing over her head for a longer period of time will hopefully get her to make long-lasting changes in her life. So that's the request of the people. Thank you. Oh, and we do request a $60 DNA fee.
All right, Ms. Erickson, it's your chance to make the statement if you choose to do so. Is there anything you wish to say at this time?
I was very young in the beginning of catching all this stuff, and I have changed, and I do want it actually this time. I know I fell off pretty soon from just getting off probation, but I was way in over my head, and I know that's no excuses, but I do feel different about everything this time for sure.
Well, I noticed something here in the old PSI. This is a problem, and I'm not a fan of the Department of Corrections when they merely attach a PSI, because often from another file, because they often don't update it. And if there's errors in the first one, there continues to be the errors in the second one. And so when I look at the first one back in Grand Traverse, there's gaps of questions that I would have. For instance, on its CFJ 284 page 8, it talks about several medical health issues, and it shows a beginning date. And it says, this doesn't make any sense. This really bothers me when I read these from the Department of Corrections. Look where it says health problem, then it says medication, which is all blank. Then it looks for treatment, it just says medication. So I don't know what medication she's been on. I have no idea if she's getting treatment. And I know it says here she's getting some medication underneath the narrative, but I don't know if that's still true. Have you been getting this? I'm directing this to the Department of Corrections. When they merely take an old PSI and attach it, they are doing nothing to help the court figure out what the heck's been going on in her life for the last 2-3 years. Are you on this medication?
I can't say, I don't remember what I was on back then, but I am on medication now.
Okay, so in some of these medical issues are all mental health, and a couple of them pretty darn serious. So when was the last time you were getting treatment for these? Schizophrenia.
The first time? Or
Are you still getting it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
well, so where do you get it from? Where do you get your treatment?
I am getting it from the jail currently.
Okay. Depression, bipolar, where are you getting your treatment there?
From the jail.
Were you getting it before you went into the jail?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I took myself off.
All right. So that's kind of an important thing where the person who prepared the PSI should have let me know that she stopped taking it. She only takes it when she's in jail. So I'm not talking negatively here to Ms. Simmons, but when I look at this, it's pretty incomplete. Well, Miss Erickson, where were you raised?
Thompsonville.
Okay. And did you graduate high school?
No, sir.
Okay. So I also see here where it talks about medication for Subutex. So you're taking that to help, was it Subutex or was it Suboxone?
It was Subutex at the time.
Yeah, okay. And who provided that for you?
Catholic Human Services and Central Mental Health.
Okay, and were you taking that still while with all these substances here?
Yes and no.
Okay,
I would go for spurts of time, just doing what I was supposed to, and then I would fall off again.
all right. Well, and when did you move to the Mesick area?
6 months ago.
All right. And who was dealing drugs from the home?
A 15-year-old minor and myself.
And who was that?
I just know his last name was Thompson.
What about Malone?
I have no clue who that is. I'm trying to figure that out still.
Okay. Well, it talks about here on this first line, since nobody challenged it, I accept it as true. On CFJ 284A, page 2, underneath agent's description of the offense, it says the Traverse Narcotics team was doing controlled buys of fentanyl and crack cocaine from you and Mr. Malone. You don't know Mr. Malone, but you're doing deals with him?
I don't know their real names, sir.
Okay. Was Mr. Malone, were you and Mr. Malone, what were you doing? It says here you guys were dealing fentanyl and crack cocaine.
Yes, they were staying at my house, but I don't know them by their first names. They never told me their real names at all.
How long were they staying there with you at your house?
They would stay for a week or two at a time.
So how long was that going on? If it was for a week or two at a time, was that over the 6 months that you lived there?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And 121 Nelson Street in Mesick, that's a home, a house?
Yes.
And were you renting that home?
I was renting a room.
Was anybody else living in that house with you?
Yes, my aunt,
Okay. Is that Miss Jackson?
Jacobs.
Jake? Okay, that's all right. And where was Mr. Thompson from? This 15-year-old that was staying there with you?
Yes, he was from Muskegon.
Oh, now we're catching it. The drug dealers from Muskegon. So how did you get in contact with Mr. Thompson?
Through mutual friends.
Okay. Now, was Mr. Thompson staying there? You said he was staying there periodically, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Was that also on the 2 weeks, every couple weeks thing, or what?
He would just show up, so most likely, yes.
Now, it says here that there was 1 container of half a gram of crack cocaine, a scale with residue, another bag of half a gram of cocaine, some red and white paper with 1.5 grams of cocaine, a crack pipe, a cellophane wrapping with 0.5 gram of cocaine, another one that had 17 grams of crack cocaine, and there was heroin and fentanyl, and then there were pistols. There's a 22 pistol, a 22 pistol, a 22 rifle, and a shotgun. That was found in a different bedroom, is that
Yes,
right?
Your Honor. Those are my aunts and my uncles.
Okay. And you decided to hide 3 grams of cocaine in a body cavity. I'm sorry, not cocaine, heroin and fentanyl. What made you do that?
It was a normal reaction, to be honest.
Okay. So now there was talk about First Nation heritage here. Have you ever had contact with reservations and programs available there?
No, we had just finished our family tree of that, so
Okay.
that was something I was starting to look into.
All right. Now, this is at a point where the court has to be concerned about judiciousness, discretion, so forth. Now, the reason she's not looking here at a higher level, because the second subsequent was dismissed, the possession of methamphetamine was dismissed. There was no, the way the case was charged too, could have been facing a possession with intent to deliver. The prosecutor's office didn't charge him with that. Now, so we're here today, and I do take a bit of an issue sometimes when the prosecutors come in and ask for hire this or hire that, when they're the ones who cut the deal the way they did. That's all right, that's their choice. But this was a big drug bust up in Mesick. And they're telling me they think 84 days of time served is appropriate, and I strongly disagree. You're basically a drug dealer. You are using this house, and I don't know why your aunt and uncle are here. Maybe they've got a case coming up, but this is a drug dealer case. The guidelines are insufficient. And I'll also tell you this, I have this problem. I've been debating this a little bit. How often do I go and do everybody else's job? Why is there no offense variable 19 when she was trying to hide the stuff in her body? How come there aren't other charges on scorings underneath OV 12 or 13 for possession with intent? If you guys don't want to put in the effort and review the PSIs a little further, then don't. That's perfectly okay. But then I will, and I'll tell you these guidelines are woefully ineffective and not scored properly. And they do not establish an appropriate guideline range. This was a crack house. About 20 grams of crack cocaine found in this little home up in downtown Mesick, which, by the way, although I don't know the exact distance, is within a quarter mile of the high school, within probably a couple 100 yards of downtown Mesick, plus the 3 grams of heroin and fentanyl. That, by the way, had that container up inside of her body cavity ruptured, she would have been dead. And all the efforts in the past have failed. 2022, she did not complete 2022, she didn't complete 2 drug programs. 2018, she didn't complete another one. And When she's talked about why did she do it, I was just trying to provide and I'm an addict. What does the word provide mean? Raise money so she can feed herself. How do you think she's raising money? She's a drug dealer. You don't want to treat her like that, then don't. But that's what I'm going to do. Because that's what, by preponderance of the evidence, all this evidence shows. You are providing a location for the drug dealers in Muskegon, who we all hear about now. It used to be that a 0 to 17 guidelines sanction cell said I couldn't even give prison. It was illegal. They don't say that now. They say it actually starts at 0 unless I find there to be reasonable grounds. Well, again, the guidelines are inadequate and they're not even scored fully is the way I see it. And you're a repeat drug offender. And you're providing this place for other people to come up from other towns to hide out in your house and deal crack cocaine. Oh my gosh. Criminal history began, or first of all, you've been using drugs since you were 12. I can't fix that with a rehab program. Bear River Health ain't gonna fix it. Probation, not gonna fix it. Also, the law says underneath 771.1, I can only use probation when I think there's a likelihood that you're not going to reoffend. And I think you are going to reoffend. I can't fix a pattern. You are a very young person, but your whole life for the last 15 years has been drugs. So, no. You began in 2017 when you were 17 years of age with, you were charged with cocaine, marijuana, alcohol. Benzie gave you a year of probation and 1 year of jail, gave you 7411. I don't know if it means that it says not scored 7411, so therefore I must assume that she completed it. But you lasted 9 months after that, and then you got caught with operating while intoxicated. Then it was shortly thereafter you began stealing, you got the retail fraud. You were given probation that was revoked unsuccessfully because you made it 2 weeks before violating probation. That wasn't successful. Then you got a driver's license suspended in 2020. Not a big charge, but it does say that you're deceptive. And then in 2021 at the Grand Traverse, you had your first run-in with the the Traverse Narcotics team. You got a possession of meth, and you were placed upon a period of probation for 2 years, and you made it 3 months. No, I take it back, 4 months. After that, you made it another couple weeks. And then after that, you made it only a couple more months into June 2022. Then you made it 2 more months, and you failed to complete you ordered into a Women's New Hope shelter, but you almost immediately tested positive for use. So you've got mental health issues for which you are rarely taking the medication. And even if you are still using the drugs. You are creating a place for people to deal drugs, and you're inviting. This is ridiculous. So the answer is just no. I don't think you're going to change. I don't think, at least not right now, because everybody tends to probably treat you a little too nicely. And I want to treat you nicely. I want to see you get the help you need. You haven't done a how have you done your attitude has had a 360-degree change. And by the way, 360 degrees, what does that mean, everybody?
359.
Well, that means all the way around the clock, back to the same direction. But anyways, I know what Mr. Harrison meant. How do you change your direction, Ms. Erickson? What's your plan if I were to let you out of jail today? What is it?
I'm going to set up my primary care physician. I do want to go back to counseling for CHS and CMH for both.
Where are you going to live? You ain't going back to Mesa.
Okay. Springdale, that's in Coltmesh.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not very far away. So, well, I can tell you it's not going to matter because you're not going home today. You know, when they talk about here, this is the spreading of a disease. You are a disease spreader. It's the same thing as if you had COVID back 5-6 years ago and went around coughing in everybody's face. And that was back when we couldn't even go to a barber shop. Everybody freaked out about that, but here, ridiculous. All right, so I have to secure this and find my sentence to be reasonable, proportional. I also find there to be reasonable grounds. Once again, I believe that the guidelines are inadequately scored, and I also don't think they encapsulate the entire event based upon the description of the offense contained in the pre-sentence investigation report. I also see here that the defendant is not taking care of her mental health treatment. She's not taking care of her drug rehabilitation treatment, that she is inviting other young people to come up to a house from Muskegon. And we all know locally that Muskegon is the big epicenter of supplying a lot of these drugs up here. And the big dealers never come. They always send it to the young people. And she was allowing this to happen so she could could provide for herself. So this is no. I know it's an intermediate sanction, so, but the way the law is written now, I can still give prison with those reasonable grounds. And I think those are reasonable grounds. The court therefore sentences the defendant to a prison term of, for count 1 and count 2. Court sentences the defendant to a prison term of 13 to 24 months. She gets 84 days of credit. Then for count 2, which is the maintaining a drug house, that is also, hold on, I said 24 months, that's 48 months. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. 13, 1 and 2 are 13 to 48, and count 3 is 13 to 24 with 84 months. Court adds a $68 state minimum fee, $130 crime victims' right fund fee. I'm not going to add any court costs, fines. There'll be a $60 DNA fee, no attorney fee. Now, Miss Ericson, you may qualify for boot camp now that I'm sending you there. And if you take boot camp, I'm likely to grant it. And if I do, you'll probably actually get out quicker than if I were to send you to the jail for a year. But I hope you take it. This attitude that you've got where you think it's absolutely okay to spread drug addiction around in this county is wrong. And if you're helping these 15-year-old kids come up here and deal, no. And when you get on the phone sometime and you talk to those people down in Muskegon who are setting up these young kids, tell them do not come up here to Wexford County, go someplace else, or just stop doing it. That's the sentence of the court. Am I missing anything?
Your Honor, to clarify for the court costs, there's three convictions, so would state costs be?
Oh, yeah, for the state costs, there's $368 state minimum fees. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and then $130 for the crime victims and
Yep.
$60 DNA.
Yep, thank you.
Your Honor. Does Judge DNA go to?
Wexford County Sheriff, or is it Trevor or MSP? Might be MSP at Travis County. All right, Miss Erickson, Mr. Harris is going to bring to you 2 copies of one document. You're going to place your initials on one. Doing so neither elects nor waives in your rights. It merely acknowledges your receipt of the copy of the document. And this document tells you that you have the right to appeal the conviction and sentences in your case. While that is typically done by filing a claim of right to appeal based upon the plea in this case, any appeal must be done by filing an application for leave to appeal. If you choose to file an application for leave to appeal and you want the court to appoint an attorney to assist you, you may complete the bottom half of that document and return to the court within 42 days. If you choose not to appeal, again, you may simply dispose of your copy of the document. So where everybody else was talking about today, how you might be looking at prison, that's where you're going. Good luck. I really do hope that you change your path. And I really, really hope that you get on the phone and tell those other people, don't come up here and deal in it. Get out of here. Stay away from our counties. Thank you. We're adjourned.
In Michigan, an upward departure from sentencing guidelines requires the court to articulate reasonable grounds on the record, and Judge Elmore had no shortage of them. Under Michigan law, a conviction on maintaining a drug house used for distribution involving a 15-year-old minor carries consequences that extend well beyond the prison term itself. A permanent felony record follows Ericson into every future employment application, housing decision, and courtroom. Any future similar offense carries no path to probation and a significantly longer sentence. Mental health conditions that went untreated outside of custody will be waiting for her on release, and Judge Elmore made clear this time the court had nothing left to offer if she returns. If you think Judge Elmore made the right call, sending her to prison instead of probation, drop your verdict in the comments and subscribe for more cases like this one.